Okay, Carlton Flowers here, your crypto pro.
Yay!
And the much awaited update on BTC to get my insight and opinion on the price action with Bitcoin now that I am back from vacation. So this is unrehearsed, unplanned. This is just straight. I'm going to look at the chart and talk to you about what I see. And let's just jump straight on in and see what we got here. Okay, get rid of that. So we're going to start out on the 4-hour chart. Now, first off, you see this little box that I had drawn here? That's my area that I was looking at where there's a lot of resistance and prior support. That's a support resistance zone. So I'm kind of keeping my eye on that because we got rejected in it here. We didn't even make it up to it. We wick rejected it there. And now we're headed back up towards it again here. So as we are printing these green bars, I only have the 50 EMA because I want to make a point with the OBV, and I can't put the OBV and the 200 EMA on here at the same time without paying the extra stupid fee. I'm already paying money for TradingView, but they want more money for me to have one more dumb indicator. So go figure. At any rate, here's the stochastic kind of looking bullish-ish on an up cycle. And you have some nice divergence here. You got kind of a nice straight line here. The fast line is really tearing off, diverging from the slow line. So the fast one is the %K. That's the blue one. And the red one is the %D. So when they're sailing apart like that, that's indicative of good momentum. So it probably will continue to go in that direction. Now, when they start to curl, when this one curls in a little bit, it could be indicative of a crossover like what you have here, but that's not to say that it can't reverse and move up again, even if it hints at a crossover like it did right here, and it lied. And we got this green candle up above here that just sent it up from this big buy. Not too big when you look at the volume bar here, but whatever the case, this sent it up. We've got green, red, green, green. And stochastic is looking like it's going to head up here towards the overbought zone. And we also have somewhat of a 4-hour bullish MACD where the oscillators on the MACD, which are slower than the oscillators on the stochastic, it's lagging. We have a crossover here. See this little miniature bullish crossover where the fast line overtook the slow line, and then we're printing green candles there. So that's somewhat bullish-ish and could help push the price up a little bit. But there's a few things that I'm noticing here. So the first thing I'm noticing right off the bat, since we have the OBV on here, I don't see any accumulation. We're flatlining. Well, actually, we're still in distribution mode because overall it's going downward. So the OBV is an approximation of whether or not a cryptocurrency or stock is being accumulated by the fat cats and institutions or slowly distributed. Or in other words, they're selling it off bit by bit. So they're either stacking up their stash of it and fattening their bags bit by bit or getting rid of it bit by bit so as not to incite the reaction of the masses and cause a panic or a rush on the cryptocurrency. So this is looking really bullish. This is a bullish crossover, but look at the histogram. Beep, just these little bitty bars there. Notice how each set on the histogram is getting smaller. So we had a nice set of bars here and here. And then we had a nice rounding here in the negative zone. And the next one we had a little double hump here and a double hump there. Single hump here. But notice how they're getting smaller. Notice how the volatility is getting tighter. So we see that the extreme of the activity of the oscillators is doing what? Do you see this? What angle is that sloping? Up or down? Now, of course, you could say this is going up here, but overall, it's trending down. All right? So that doesn't coincide with this very bullish looking stochastic, and it makes this bullish looking stochastic look stupid because we're not getting a good return on our investment. In other words, we're not getting any bang for the buck. So when the stochastic jumps up like this, and this is all you're getting, it tells me we're about to possibly get another lower high. So it might end up here. It might not even make it up to this resistance zone. So when we look at each peak, as I always tell you, look at the peaks and then look what price returns from those peaks. We had the big run up here. Whoops, I want an arrow. Let's do that one again. Here's the arrow. So we had the big run up here. The next stochastic peak was a lower high. The next one was a higher high, but it didn't take out the previous one here, okay? So then we had another lower high. Then we had another lower high. What are we forming up to here? It could be a lower high. This might be all that what we get. And then, of course, the MACD is indicative of weakness. And then we have a declining volume. Look at the volume here. You see this volume? It's getting quiet. And so if we keep on just messing around and pity-pattying around here where we bounce up and down smaller each time, the floor is going to drop out. You remember that video where I talked about the teenagers at the party bouncing on the floor and the fear of the floor giving out? Well, that's what we have here. Now let's clear this out. Let's say that we get all the way back up to this resistance. Notice there's a big volume node here, but we're sitting at this one here. We might not even make it past this one. We're magically sitting at this large node. And then notice how this base here is right at the biggest volume node, at the point of control, the POC. That's what you call this node. So within the visible range, in other words, with how much I have smooshed in on this chart, with this date range right here, dating back to the 7th of June, this is the average price, and that is called the POC, or the point of control. So we have been bouncing around, up and down, going around this point of control price where we dipped below twice. Now we went above it twice. Now we're settling back towards it again. And remember what I said way back when. I said it might take all the way out to July the 12th before we get to the end of this thing, before we have a definitive move up or down. And what happened? We're still messing around, and it's taking that exact amount of time. Now, I'm not saying that I'm some Nostradamus. I ain't trying to be Crypto or any of the rest of those dinglings who brag about getting things right. I got lucky, all right? I was just telling you what it looked like on the chart, and it was probable, and it played out that way. So I'm not trying to say that you need to pat me on the back for that. Please don't. But it did work out that way that we thought, as what we were talking about. So that's the 4 hour. Let's jump and just let's clear this out and let's look and see what the 1 day looks like. Oh boy, that looks even worse. All right, let's smush this in. So here we are at the point of control. Look at this huge node. So you got this big, humongous fat volume node here. Okay, so this one is where the bulk of the trading, this is a very popular price range. All right, and we tend to jump to these nodes. So here's another node here. We were all hearing people talking about, will it get to 48K? And that's because there's a big node right there. Then we have another one that is at around 55K right here. Okay, so these are volume nodes where it's probable that price jumps to those things. And then, of course, we have this one down here. All right. And this bottom node is at 23,500. And that's, it's a possibility. It might not be probable. You know, we do have one before that. Here's a node here at what, 27? There's people talking about 27K, so I can see that. There's a big node sitting there. Well, it's not big, but it's there. And then we have this one here. So in other words, if we fail this POC price, we get into the slip zone. And slip zone means a lot less volume per the price. All right. Down here is the volume per time, like at a day. How much volume went on this day? But when we flip it on the side, it's how much volume, no matter what day, how much volume was at 40,000, period. And that's a volume of vertical, or VPVR is volume profile. That's a profile volume. I can't talk. I'm still tired. I got home at 8 a.m., drove through the night from Florida. I am tired. And so if I sound like I'm slap happy, give me a break. Cut me a break, okay? Cut me a break, people. Now, moving right along. The stochastic is weak. It is bearish. So we had the definite crossover here, and we have definite momentum headed in this direction. So we could be possibly headed down here to see if we could dip. Do we dip into oversold? I don't know. Maybe so, maybe not. Maybe it bounces here and goes up, because you see here, we didn't dip into oversold on these, but we sure did here on the big capitulation. So if we come down here and we violate this, it's possible we could still get down here like we did here. And if it does, that's where these nodes come into play, where these are possible. It can happen. It's a possibility. All right. Now, MACD, it is weak. So it's approaching the zero line, but this is not to say that it's going to definitely go above this zero line here just because it's headed in this direction. It could do this, because what's the overall trend doing? From these peaks here to where we're at right now, the overall trend is this way. All right. We had this big dip here, so it could go down. Now, the elephant in the room is the on-balance volume distribution. Ever since this point here, which coincides here, we have more selling than buying. The institutional people, the insiders, the whales, the fat cats, not counting the Michael Saylors who just keep buying no matter what. I don't know why they buy like that. I'm like, why don't you wait until this mess is over? Why are you spending your money like that? But I guess just to have it, they don't care what the price is. They just want to own it. But we see here that we're in distribution, guys. So this is still a bearish trend. We're still doing this. And if we were going to get a break like this, which is possible, let's make that green. If we were going to get a break like this and come up here to one of these two nodes, we would have hints here, because you would see the OBVs start to creep up, okay? And normally what happens before a big move, OBV does the opposite of what you're seeing here, where the line would start doing something like this. This is what OBVs look like. They'll creep up before the price moves. So when you see this, it's indicative of a positive breakout about to come, because they're getting itty bitty pieces at a time, so they don't alert you, the retail investor. They're sneaking and doing this quietly, so then they can run the price up and make maximum profits where they hog it all and you don't get it. But we're not having that. We're in distribution, so I'm not confident about a breakout right now. I don't know. Another thing I've noticed is all the fat mouths. You know, I was like, dang, I wish I could get an update while I was on vacation, but I was too busy. I got some VV updates in there, but nothing on Bitcoin and crypto. But for one solid week, and what did we have? We had all of the fat cats on YouTube saying, breakout coming. We're going to the moon every single day. We had some new crazy, fantastic indicator where they were saying we're about to break out. And what happened? Absolutely nothing. All we have done since then is this sideband working within this triangle pattern. That's it. So I'm not very impressed with all of the fat mouth people that keep giving us these ridiculous predictions. Man, it just gets on my nerves. I mean, it's unsettling. It's upsetting, because it gets me all stressed out, because I think, oh my goodness, what am I seeing? I'm missing something. It's going to break out and I'm going to miss it. And alts are going to run, and then nothing happens. And so I've learned to just shut them off. If I don't see it on the chart, I'm just not going to listen. And again, this is not financial advice. I'm not making predictions. I'm just talking about this with you. I'm not one of them. I don't do that. I'm of the people, for the people, by the people. Now look, I'm in it for you. If we work together, if we just keep hope alive and we band together, we can get through this forest, and we can make money, be prosperous, and have a great life. That's what I'm here for. It's us. This is an us thing. All that to say, don't bet on Bitcoin based on what I say. All right? I'm calling it like I see it. Well, that's all. I want to know what your thoughts are. What do you think is going to happen next? I'm curious to hear it, but you've heard what I think, so chime on in, post it in the comments. That's all I got. This is Carlton. I'm gone.